Well, welcome everyone. We're so excited to be back with our real estate socials for the fall. We took a little break over the summer months, but we have a lot of exciting events coming up this fall. So we're going to be talking a little bit about some of those as we get going. But we have quite a few speakers joining us this evening, which is really exciting from the Phipps team. We have a mortgage update coming up as well. We're going to be touching on the Calgary market as well as the Canmore market with our local agent on the team, Shaun, which is going to be really exciting. And of course, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Andrea Tessier. I'm the team managing partner with Phipps Real Estate Group. And our team offers residential, commercial, and property management services in Calgary and surrounding areas, and as well in Canmore now. We're really excited to have our local Canmore agent here with us. So we're going to kind of jump into things pretty quickly here. We've got a few of our team members on the call. So I'm just going to pull up our presentation so we can get started. All right. So we love doing these types of events and we're always open to feedback as well. So if there's ever a topic that you're interested in or something that you'd like us to touch on, please don't hesitate to let us know. It's also meant to be fairly informal. So if you have questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask them along the way as we go. But we're going to be starting with our Calgary market update and talking about what's going on in the market. So I'm going to hand things over to Erin with Phipps Group, and she's going to be providing us an update.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Hi, sorry.
Hi, Erin.
So I'm Erin. Thanks for joining us today. And I'm going to take us for a little dive into Calgary's August market snapshot. We're going to see what's happening with prices, supply, and what it means for buyers, sellers, and investors. So next slide. So Calgary is not in the red hot sellers market that we've seen in over the last 4 years. Supply is definitely improving. Sales are cooling and prices are adjusting, especially in higher density homes like condos and row houses. Condos, we're seeing like apartment style properties, we're seeing tremendous amounts of almost like what's the word that we're going to use here? It's escaping me, but it's record-breaking numbers that we've seen for condos. So yeah, sales they were down last month, 9% year over year, and the total inventory is the highest it's been since pre-pandemic 2019. Next slide. So let's start with detached homes. So detached homes, they are stabilizing. Prices are softening slightly, especially in the Northeast and the East, but city center is holding. City center tends to be an area where it's really insulated. Semi-detached homes are holding stronger with balanced supply, keeping values up. They're seeing, prices kind of stay balanced. Next slide. Row homes saw the biggest jump in supply, and that's pushed prices down about 5% from last year. They're still more balanced than 2018, but competition is strong, especially from new builds. Condos or apartments are where the sharpest adjustments are happening. Like I said, supply is at an all-time record high and prices are down 6% overall. Double-digit declines in some districts. This is creating opportunities for buyers who were priced out last year. So it's a good time to get into the apartment sector right now. So ultimately, the market is shifting. So what this means is that buyers finally have options. Sellers need sharper strategy, and investors should be eyeing high density product as opportunities emerge. Opportunity is starting to show its face, and it's absolutely something to keep the pulse on it. So I also included areas like Airdrie, Cochrane, and Okotoks. So we're getting into that next. So Airdrie is feeling the effects of higher supply. With more choice, both resale and new homes, prices are softening, down 4% from last year. The market is shifting toward balance, easing some of the pressure buyers have faced. So, just a general, we're seeing prices ease right now. In Cochrane, sales activity has slowed against higher listings, pushing supply above 4 months. But unlike Airdrie, prices are holding steady. They're up actually slightly year over year and 4% higher year to date, which is pretty crazy, especially with the market that we've been seeing here in Calgary. Um, Okotoks is still relatively tight compared to Airdrie and Cochrane. Inventory has grown a bit, but not enough to flip conditions. Prices dipped slightly month to month, but year to date values are up across all property types. So that's your Calgary market update.
Great.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Thanks so much,
Uh,
Erin.
I was just going to add a few comments to kind of what I think is driving some things in the market right now. I think the Toronto market and what's happening out east has certainly had a major impact on what is happening out west in terms of, initially we were seeing this huge inflow of population, and we still are, but now people are struggling to sell their properties. So we actually have quite a few clients even in our team that would love to be moving here, but can't sell their property out east. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out with Toronto sort of being the, center of the universe here in Canada, how that will actually play out. But just a couple of things. So Erin was talking about the months of supply in the city, which she outlined really well, but it's very varied. Like there's a lot of variance per community and per property type. So, we've been listing properties at the exact same time on opposite ends of the city, for example. One is in competing offers and selling right away. Like Shaun and Heather had a listing like that on the west side here. We list something in another part of the city, often the east, and there's over 7 months of supply. And so it's very much like the story of niche markets. What happens over here is not necessarily what's happening over there. And Calgary's always been like that to a degree, but I feel like it's quite varied right now, more than I ever remember really seeing it. And then the construction at the pace of what we do construction here in Calgary is good and bad, that we can react quite quickly. So the time it takes to put construction projects through from new development to completion is extremely quick compared to other centers in Canada. And so, we are seeing certain pockets of Calgary, particularly like suburbs, especially northeast, deep south, where there was just a lot of developments pushed through over the last few years. And now we're seeing massive inventory hit the market all at once. So the demand was there. That'll get chewed through, but it will take a little bit of time. And so there's a lot of investors actually right now who got into these projects, over the last couple of years that are either, trying to sell and can't, or sometimes they couldn't even close. We've seen quite a bit of that just because of their financial situation out east. So that's kind of, something to keep an eye on. I think there could be some very interesting opportunities that come up, kind of finding who's maybe in the most trouble here. And then the other thing I want to talk about quickly was kind of the multifamily space a little bit. Is it's no secret, but over the summer months, if you've been following the commercial side of things, is CMHC has once again moved the goalpost on multifamily commercial investors, and uh, particularly the premiums have seriously been impacted. I don't know if Kevin's going to talk about that side of it or not, but CMHC premiums on the multifamily side, my calculations are around 2.5 times what they were to do the same deal a year ago. So deals are not going to pencil out like they were last year. And so, that's really unfortunate for people who are already in a deal, already in a transaction. They've already removed conditions. They're maybe waiting for it to complete. And that could be a challenge if they don't already have all of that kind of nailed down in terms of their pre-approval or letter of intent from CMHC and their lender. But that could also, on the flip side, be some opportunities for investors who are able to get into the multifamily side. The other thing we didn't talk about on that part was the rental market. And certainly we're seeing rents stabilize now, rents even declining in some cases. And so I think the other thing we saw in the last couple of years was a lot of people all of a sudden were developers, or they were all of a sudden multifamily experts. And it's really easy to do this well when things are going like this. But when we start to see a little bit of, stability happening, or things stabilizing or balancing, it really does unfortunately show who was thinking beyond that hot time and who wasn't. And so on the commercial multifamily side, I think we're kind of waiting patiently to see that there may be some good opportunities come, because people were running their numbers, at the peak of the market, high rents, and that might not be the case when things are completed or closed in terms of their project. So I think there could be some buying opportunities there on the multifamily commercial side as a result of all of this. But the main message on the rental side is just to be conservative, because there is plenty of supply, and being aware of kind of what's around wherever you're looking is really important, because it's not the same everywhere, but just understanding that, I think, more than ever. And I think a lot of investors from outside of Calgary, they didn't take the time to necessarily know our market, they didn't work with local realtors, weren't thinking about what happens when we see a bit of balancing. So if you're looking on that side of things, I think we will see some opportunities. But in terms of CMHC insured and the MLS Select, it's going to be extremely challenging to make those deals work now with those new with those new premiums. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes in future months. But yeah, just a few little notes there on that side of it.
Awesome. Um, One other thing I wanted to add, so at the beginning we were talking about some exciting events that we have coming up, and I know this is going to come up a little bit in the presentation later too, so thought it could be a good opportunity to introduce it. But for anyone that hasn't seen some of our marketing yet, we are going to be offering a first time ever investor bus tour coming up at the beginning of October. So we're really excited. I think this is going to be a really, really fun event. We're going to be looking at different opportunities from single family, multifamily, and short-term rentals in Calgary, Canmore, Cochrane, and some of the areas in between. So it's going to be a full day event, plus there's going to be a little event the evening before. So the Friday before, we're going to have kind of like a networking event with some light presentations and snacks. And then Saturday is going to be the big day on the bus. 9 a.m. we're going to get on the bus and we're going to go and drive and start touring. There'll be presentations throughout the day. There'll be a couple of stops where we're getting off. Lunch, snacks, a bunch of swag is going to be included. So I think it's going to be really, really exciting. From there, if anyone's interested in properties, then on the Sunday as well, our team is going to be available to do some individual showings for anyone who wants more information or to look at things closer. So if you haven't seen that already, we'll put the link in the chat. But later on in the presentation, when Shaun's going to be talking about Canmore, he's going to be talking a little bit more about that as well, because we've got some exciting things that we're going to be checking out there in the mountains. Yeah, this is our first time doing it, so we are really excited. I think it's going to be a really fun event.
Yeah, and we're doing it in collaboration with Michael Ponte. So he's going to be coming. He's a lot of fun, and we'll be bringing the energy. So we're excited to collaborate on this. I think it's be a great day, great networking, great way to get your questions answered. One little highlight to throw in there is we're going to be actually going to the Taza development on the west side. Some very interesting things happening on the west side of Calgary there. And if you know Calgary, you also know that the west side has maintained its value very consistently through everything that Calgary has really been through over the years. So I'm really looking forward to that, even myself personally. So I hope to see everyone there. I'm just going to put the link in the chat here.
Perfect. Okay, well, you're getting that in there. I'm going to come back to our presentation and we're going to move on to a mortgage update here. I'm just going to move things around.
Can someone test this link? Make sure that works.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
perfect.
I'm gonna highlight Kevin. Oh, you're pinned up. Okay.
Yeah, he's pinned up there. All right, so I'm going to pass things over to Kevin Tessier, and he's going to be providing a mortgage update of what's going on that side of things.
All right, so hi everyone. My name's Kevin. I'm a mortgage associate with Dominion Lending Center's Mortgage Excellence. I'm based out of Calgary. I'm an investor here as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. But Andrea, if you want to switch slides. So a quick economic snapshot where we're going, what's happening. So I put a chart here of the Canada 5-year bond. Um, 5-year bond is usually closely follows the US 10-year bond. And this morning it started going down. As you can see, it's been kind of going down since August, but we did reach 3% kind of, which is a barrier that's a little high. We reached that in July, and we'd been kind of hovering around there. And then since kind of middle of August, we've been going down, which is a good news for fixed rates. We've seen in the last, let's say, month or so, rates had kind of been clawing back up from, the middle fours to kind of the high fours and low fives, depending on what your scenario is. But this week we've actually seen rates go down. So if you're looking at let's say the insured, which is kind of the rate that's always stated, we're in the low fours, even in some very specific cases, high threes, which is good. Um, U.S. inflation this morning had a 2.9% headline, so that is still quite above the 2% target for the Fed. Now that's in the U.S., but like I said before, the 10-year US bond yield kind of ties quite closely to the 5-year in Canada. So they're our biggest neighbor, and we follow them quite closely. The next Bank of Canada announcement is next week, so the 17th. A couple weeks ago, most economists weren't really predicting a cut. Now we're seeing more and more chances of a cut, which would be a 0.25 cut, which would be nice. In the US, I think there's about a 90% chance for a cut for their next announcement, which is on 16th, 17th. So yeah, that's about it for the economic snapshot. Now, what this means for investors. So I did put a chart here of the gold versus the US dollar. And the reason I put that up here is just to show, gold has been long treated as a reserve currency. When there's uncertainty in the market, you can see in 2008, people pile into gold. But what I was trying to show here is since 2023, gold has been on a skyrocket trajectory. So there's just a lot of uncertainty. One week the rates are going up, one week the rates are going down. We don't know what's happening. So as of right now, bond yields are dipping, which could signal some rate relief ahead of time, which would be good for investors and for home buyers. But be prepared that rents will stay higher longer. So, hope for the best, plan for the worst. I don't think we're going to see rates like we saw in 2019, 2020 ever. It's not going to happen in the next couple of years, if ever. So when you're running your numbers, run them at 5%, run them at a worst case scenario. And if it pencils out, then and your rate is lower, then great. But you're also prepared if rates don't drop. Don't bank on them dropping because there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. There's a lot of things happening across the world that the markets can't predict. So with that says, it basically just stay up to date with your pre-approvals. Market shifts quickly, so keep updating, keep your updates with your mortgage broker. Keep talking to him. What are rates doing? What's happening? Yeah, that's about it. And then I put a slide here just about a quick spotlight for purchase plus improvement mortgages. So those could be very interesting for someone who is either a first-time home buyer or an investor. They can be great if you're looking at potentially buying a house and adding a basement suite, or if you're looking at a house that is not perfect and you're not sure you want to move on it because there's a couple things that are not quite lining up. Mortgage plus improvement is great. You can get up to 10% of the after repair value in improvement costs. So essentially how it would work is it's one big mortgage. The day you close, the bank gives you the mortgage amount, And then the renovations are paid for by the bank after you are done the renovations and you can prove that. They basically then send you the rest of the money. So for anyone wanting to do a repair or renovation of a house, it's great because then your renovation is lumped into the mortgage. So you're not looking at HELOC rates, you're looking at mortgage rates once you're done. So it's a great program for anyone wanting to do renovations on a new house they just purchased. And that was it. So that's my information again. If anyone wants to chat, more than open to it. Feel free to give me a call, send me an email, or anything you may need.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Okay. All right. Next up, we are going to be moving over to Canmore. So yeah, we're like I was mentioning at the beginning, we're really lucky to have our local Canmore agent on the call this evening, Shaun, and he's going to be shedding a spotlight on what's going on in that market because it can be, very different from what's happening also in Calgary. And he's also going to be pointing out some important things that investors should be considering if they are wanting to look in that market. So, Shaun, we're going to hand things over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea. I did note that, and I saw that you didn't try to pronounce my last name, which is great. My name is Shaun Oosthuizen. Very honored and privileged to be part of the Phipps Group and be their representative here in Canmore, which is just a beautiful part of the world. And I invite, and I'm sure I'll do it again later on, anybody that wants to come out to Canmore to connect with me, meet up. Let's go for a tour. Let me show you the town. Let's just get into the numbers. I guess everybody loves numbers, so we can look at the stats as a snapshot for our detached homes and all properties in Canmore, actually. Um, it is a little bit down from the same time last year. We have about 149 listings in Canmore right now or in the Bow Valley, and about 24 sales in the last 30 days. It's a little bit down from the previous 60 days, but it's common for the seasonality of this area. During the summer, we're a little bit slower, and combined, of course, with the political uncertainty, whether it's tariffs or interest rates, we kind of feeling the effects too on that scale. But if you take the snapshot and different times of the year, you'll see a different number as well. But definitely our slower part of the year. I do want to mention that what you see in that snapshot is residential and short-term rental zone properties combined. We do defer them, or we kind of separate them once you distinguish what you want to purchase in Canmore. In the STR or short-term rental properties, we have 16 currently on the market, which include fractional ownerships as well as pre-construction listings. To give you a little bit of just show you how your property value increases, just for properties from the short-term rental market, 26% since 2021 over the last 4 years. Once again, take that same snapshot in the fall or in February or March will look totally different. But we'll see a lot more activity within the STR market coming now in the late fall and in the spring when sellers are looking to sell and buyers want to get into the market in order to purchase something for the summer, because the summer is where you are generating a fair amount of your revenue during the year. Going into the next slide, why Canmore? I always say, why not? Obviously, by the picture, I took the social a little bit further than kind of love. I mean, this is where we are. It's the Rockies. It's beautiful. Location is key. We are an hour drive from YYC as well as the international airport. 20 minutes away from Banff, Lake Louise a little bit further. Over 5 million people come and visit the Bow Valley throughout the summer or throughout the year. we see a growing popularity within Canmore and Banff. Banff getting a little bit crowded, so people kind of veering towards Canmore as the hub of destination, and then doing the day trips. Just looking at what Airbnb has come out with a news article that Canmore was in the top 8 destinations for domestic travels and in the top 5 destinations for all in Canada, whether domestic or international. So there is a demand and there is a popularity coming, which will segment into how do I invest in the Rockies. Sorry, Andrew, can we just go back there for a second?
Yeah.
As well as I just want to point out, you're investing into a lifestyle because there's anything to do in every season. Whether it's in the winter, summer, spring, or fall, you have something to do, whether you like biking, hiking, running, skiing, sledding, anything. As well as Canmore has been proven that it is a stable real estate market. It doesn't follow the trends of the metropolitans. As I mentioned, the short-term rental properties has increased in value 26% over the last 3 or 4 years. Single family homes alone, over 35% over the same period of time. And then, of course, we offer to everybody, whether you want a weekend home, whether you want to move here permanently, or do you want to invest. And this is what we need to know going into the next slide is once you purchase in Canmore, you just have to make sure that you know where you want to go and what you want to purchase. Canmore is zoned for certain areas and certain properties. Do I want a residential property that I want to come and live in or retire in or use as a weekend home? Or do I want an investment property that is zoned for short-term rentals and everything that goes with that, with tax and implications, etc. with that? But if you have some questions, keep them aside, keep in contact, and let's get together. But another thing to know is whether it is partnering up with management, short-term rental property management, whether it is, especially in financing, stay local. We know the market. We've dealt with it a few times, especially in financing. There's only a certain number of lenders that will finance short-term rental properties, a down payment of a minimum of 20%. I have great contacts in those of three, the top three. Reach out if you want some more information. Happy to share. Another thing, the vacancy tax. The town of Canmore is looking to implement a vacancy tax. How is that going to affect you? Will your property be affected in that? It's mostly geared toward the residential zone properties. There's other rules and regulations that you can bypass in order whether you're going to pay it or not, if they implement it. Always do your due diligence, whether it is property inspection, condo doc review, or whether you have a short-term rental property that you want somebody else to manage for you, a third-party management company. Just ask the right questions. How do they charge? What's their fee? What do they include? How do they report? And if you have any questions regarding that, I do have, and my partner have a management company, so we can help with some questions and anything that you don't know yet. Timing is a big thing in Canmore as well, because I mentioned seasonality. When it comes to short-term rental properties, we see a lot of activity in the fall and then the spring. Summer is normally our quieter months. But now, if you know it, be ready. Do your financing checks, get pre-approved, get things in order, and ask the right questions.
Shaun, sorry.
Yes.
You mean it's quieter to shop to rent? Like, is summer or dead of winter the best time to buy? Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly, yeah. It depends on which property you're aiming for,
Yeah.
right? And the zoning of it. For instance, the short-term rental property is zoned for Airbnb. For instance, in the summer, it's very quiet in that area, just because you're maximizing revenue. We're running at 100% occupancy rate
Yeah.
from June till the end of September. No use listing your property, no use trying even to get to see the property.
Yeah.
So we'll see a lot more listings coming up at the end of the fall. And then, of course, in the beginning of the spring, for buyers to enter the market to take advantage of that summer months, right?
Right.
And that's the time that you can use in order to connect with your financing people.
Hmm.
Can
Vacancy
I?
tax, sorry, is that vacancy tax just like in Canmore or for the whole region?
They are implementing it in Canmore right now,
Okay.
or they're wanting to.
Wanting to, yeah.
But it's once again, it's only residential zone properties.
Right.
It doesn't affect the short-term rentals.
Okay.
Um, the GST, can I defer GST? Yes, you can. Especially when it comes to short-term rental properties or investment properties where GST is applicable. I advise you to just consult with your accountant or your lawyer in what scenarios I need to be in order to defer GST. And then need to know the foreign ban. We know that the ban was extended at the beginning of the year after the election to the end of 2026, I believe, for another 2 years. Um, but I see that as a massive positive for Canadian investors to enter the market, especially in a town like Canmore, where you don't have to compete with the foreign market and foreign investors. This is a great opportunity for us while things are still kind of in our hands in order to
Mm.
invest into a great town like this. And then we come to opportunities. Canmore is growing. Lots is coming. And Andrew, if you want to move over, I can just there's opportunities now. There's all the segments of Canmore, whether it's large, Cougar Creek, know where you're buying, and Lions Park, for instance. These are all the communities that people might want to move, might need assisted living, and they just need to sell their homes. They might not have upgraded it. Great opportunity for a flip and a reno, as well as new communities, whether it's the Three Sisters Village, which is a plan for a 15-year development project. And then, of course, the surrounding areas, which I'm going to move into the Silvertip. This is where I get really excited and I kind of babble once it comes to Silvertip. Uh, Silvertip has a master plan community, the first of its kind. Um, and they're starting with Mountain Tranquility, where they're going to selling off land and lots for sale. And I'm just going to jump to one of my points there that these lots are exempted from the ban. So foreign investors can actually buy a lot and develop it, and you're exempted from that ban. Backtracking a little bit, when it comes to Dead Man's Flats in the surrounding areas, keep in mind Canmore falls within the boundaries of the ban, but Dead Man's Flats and the hamlets like Harvey Heights and Banff is exempted from the ban. So you are able to purchase, whether it's short-term rentals or residential properties in those hamlets, still as a foreign investor.
Mm.
Mountain Tranquility, first of its kind. The reason why I say that is that Apex luxury homes are being built that has the zoning designation for tourist homes that you can rent these out for short-term purposes on platforms like Airbnb. Um, there's a massive market in the luxury rental space. CHK Group has done some research, and they actually has pinpointed there's 5,000 room opportunity within the Canmore for luxury short-term rentals.
Wow.
So Canmore is going to grow, and you can get in at the ground level, whether it is with Silvertip Master Plan Community or Mountain Tranquility. Dead Man's Flat's growing with more pre-construction developments coming up. And of course, if you don't want to invest in a home or an apartment, there's opportunity for business.
Mm.
Sport business in Canmore is going to need, there's lots of opportunity, whether you're opening a cleaning business, a linen business, a laundry, or shuttle service.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody knows by now that public traffic is not allowed to Maureen Lake. Pretty soon they're cutting down on Lake Louise, and I'm sure if that's a proven track record, that Banff is going to implement it as well. But we've seen a massive increase of, for instance, shuttle services. Not enough, but a massive increase of little businesses, pop-up businesses that
Mm.
will supply the tourism trade. And I want to touch, my last point I want to touch on, which I'm really excited about, is the share ownership. It's a new concept. I'm having a meeting tomorrow with a group. Um, Not everybody can afford a $5 or $7 million home, right? Here's an opportunity of a group that wants to come into Canmore that has partnered up with me, and looking into the model that has that is a proven track record for them. They want to come and cookie cutter here in Canmore, have these luxury homes, and then sell the shares to potential buyers to be part of this home, and
Mm.
then also share the revenue, a generation of this rental. Of course, it's going to be in Mountain Tranquility. There's a rendering that I'm sharing with you there. The other rendering on the top left is Cadence Pond, tourist home, short-term rentals, first of its kind on the golf course, never seen before in Canmore. So there is growth. If you look at the business coming, the Silvertip Master Plan Community with the Nordic Spa and the conference center. Silvertip alone is doing 140 weddings a year. So you can just see where if you have a home like this and you can be part of it, whether it's at 500K or 600K, but then generate the beauty of their model is that you can then share the other properties that they have in different parts of the world in different countries, and you
Mm.
can swap them out.
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
I have
I'm
a
going to
question.
have a full package by the end of next week, but I'll have all of this and more on the Investors Bus tour coming up in October. So if you have any questions, let the team know, let Natasha or Andrea know if you want to come out and visit, or just come on a bus tour and we'll have all of this plus um, some information on third-party management options for short-term rentals in Canmore. And if you have a property that you are doing already in Canmore and you have other questions regarding that segment, don't hesitate to reach out, please.
Awesome. I have a question. Just those that don't know, can you just review the zoning equation? Like you mentioned it briefly, but the types of zoning and what's important for investors to distinguish between the two that
Of
you.
course, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, if you want to quickly split it up in this residential zoning
Mhm.
and then the visitor accommodation zoning. Um, in that part, the visitor accommodation zoning is only for short-term rentals. They've split that up into segments, which we call the hotel condos, um, like Solara, Blackstone, those kind of properties. You're only allowed to rent those out on a short-term basis.
Mhm.
The other zoning, which is the tourist home zoning, is a combination of residential and the hotel condos, where you have the flexibility of that zoning. There's going to be a lot of changes that the town is going to implement it, which I'm happy to discuss on a different day. But for tourist home zoning, you can rent it out short term. You can either use it as your primary residence, or you can rent it out long term, with caveats to those statements. But
Mhm.
the beauty of that zoning, tourist home zoning, because you have the opportunity or the choice of renting out short term, is that mountain tranquility. For the first time, a single family home will have that designation in Canmore.
Wow.
Um, if you want to start talking numbers, what will I generate for a home like that? There's no comparables. The closest comparable is the Mercer Clubhouse, that is generating between $500,000 and $700,000 gross revenue a year, with an average between $3,000 and $6,000 a night. That is the closest comparable I can find at the moment. But with what Silvertip is planning and the business that's coming,
Mm.
you can kind of see where you're going to land with revenue generating.
Yeah. Awesome.
And of course, the share option of this
Yeah.
coming in, trying to open it up for buyers, that make it affordable, right?
Yeah. Make it a little more accessible. I like what you said, a couple things. I liked how you were talking about the like staying local. It's very clear. Shaun knows what he's talking about, and he lives there, works there, invests there, and that's what you want to do when you're looking at a different market, is find who's actually in the know of what's going on and has their fingers on the pulse. So that was really, really good. And I like your point about business too, that there could be other opportunities in the commercial side of things or business because there's just such a growing demand. I was in Canmore. This is a side story. I have a short-term rental property in Dead Man's Flats. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go buy some towels. No, there's nowhere to buy towels in Canmore at all. Zero. So I was like thinking like, wow, there's all these like hotels and short-term rentals and all this stuff. And obviously they're buying in bulk, but still, like even just little things like that, it is very much a small town. Like there isn't every single amenity like you'd have in town. So there'll be lots of demand for new business, I think. I think that's a really smart point. Did anyone have questions for Shaun? Was that your last slide, Shaun? Yeah.
Yeah,
That
questions
was,
for
thank you
Shaun.
so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And once again, I invite anybody to come to Canmore to
Yes.
reach out.
Shaun loves to golf. If you want to go golfing, be on the course. There's no questions on Canmore.
Questions on Canmore or for any of our speakers,
Anything, yeah.
Calgary Mortgage. We've got a little bit of time. So again, it's meant to be informal. You can put it in the chat or just unmute yourself, and we're here to help if you have questions about anything.
Maybe we'll see if any questions come through. I have a couple thoughts. So we usually on our events we try to talk about something, and then we usually talk strategy. And there's no like wrong time to buy real estate, but there's the wrong time to do certain strategies depending on what the market is doing, right? So I think as things sort of slow down here, and as we're seeing much larger slowdowns in other parts of the country, it can feel, even the fact that the amount of people registering for this event is significantly smaller than say a year ago or 2 years ago, right? It does show that there's a little less confidence. There's fear out there. There's been kind of a lot of bad news in a lot of different ways. But the most important thing to also remember is when things slow down and when everyone's looking over here, generally speaking, you'll find the best opportunities over here. So being really kind of intentional with your goals and aligning your strategy with what the market is doing, is really the critical component. So thinking about like what could make sense right now in terms of the actual market and what's going on. Kevin talked about adding secondary suites. I think that has been a proven track record plan in Calgary. It used to be illegal suites, but as long as I can remember, as long as we have done this, the condo market is always way more volatile in Calgary specifically. It's more, not just Calgary, everywhere. Condos, period, are more volatile because you get large volumes of units in a single location. And so, remembering that, and then also if you're feeling a little bit nervous or a little bit, concerned about what's going on, is remembering that real estate is a long-term game. It is a long-term wealth generator. It's not going to get us rich in 3 months or something. It's really about long-term wealth. And so I think when we start getting a little nervous, we start thinking really short-term, which is understandable. I think it's natural, but just a reminder of why you're investing in real estate. It's to pay down the debt. It's to have that appreciation over time. And you take any large chunk of time, like 5 years, really in most markets, there was no like that was a horrible 5-10 years. So just remembering that, and then thinking about what opportunities there could be, like if I'm hearing a lot more come up with like rent to own and creative strategies, making a deal work, being a problem solver, all of those things. As real estate investors, we have the kind of skills and knowledge, and you're out there and you're learning. And so there is definitely some opportunities out there. It's just thinking what makes sense in the current market. So to share a little bit about that. Yeah, I think that's all I had. There was no questions. Holy, Shaun, well, I guess you did perfect.
No, wait.
Great.
No, wait.
Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
For a person that can actually say his last name, Mr. Oosthuizen,
Monique.
just out of interest, that fractional units, is it going to be on the same premise as what happened in Whistler, where they had those fractional units going there, and you had like a quarter share in a unit?
It's going to be different if we're talking about the single family home up in Silvertip that of the share ownership. It's not going to be similar to the fractional ownership that you see in Whistler or here in Canmore. There's fractional ownership, but what happens with those is they take the title and they divide it up in a quarter or eighth or 12. In this case, the group is going to keep the title, and then you're going to invest into that as a share,
Okay.
let's say a shareholder, if I may put it this way. But you'll be able then to also expand and swap your share with other properties within the portfolio.
Okay, so basically, like in the old days, RCI.
I don't want to say
Sort of, but like much
I think
smaller.
honest, Monique, in a very short answer, yes, but I think this is going to be totally different. In a matter that RCI and let's say, I mean, you probably could equate it to like Bonvoy and stuff like that, but
Okay.
you're not investing in a hotel chain. You're not investing into this massiveness where you're gonna have something in your hand. You're gonna be able to use a property which is yours. You're going to be able to create or get the ROI from that property, as well as then within whether they're generating or creating a point system. We'll have those details by end of next week. But then you can move them around or swap if you want to use your property somewhere else kind of thing. But layman's terms, yes, RCI, Bonvoy kind of thing, but show me where you can invest in a $7 million home in the Rockies, looking out at the Three Sisters, and you're gonna be able to share the revenue that is being generated up to, if not more than $700,000 a year. But yeah,
Interesting.
No, I'm with you.
stay tuned, and we'll have a complete package. Hopefully by the end of next week, but it will definitely have it on the bus tour for the investors coming to Canmore. And that's going to be one of our stops, by the way.
Awesome.
So if you want to get on the bus, we're stopping in Silvertip.
Can we stop at the bistro as well?
Yes.
We're having lunch.
We have
We're
lunch
having
then, Monique, just for you.
There's going to be snacks and food included.
Eat everyone. That was awesome.
Awesome.
Good question. Anything else? No. Okay. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening, everyone. And we'd love to see you on the bus tour, whether you're in Calgary or you want to travel in for the weekend. That would be wonderful. We'd love to see you for that event. And we're going to have, lots coming up this fall. We're taking part in collaboration with a few events as well. So this weekend, we're going to be at the Savvy Summit with Investor Savvy, and lots of exciting things coming up.
Yeah. Well,
Great.
thanks, everybody. Good job, Kevin. Good job, Shaun, Aaron.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you all.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
See you guys.
Take care.